The envelope has no return address. It arrives on a Tuesday. Inside is a single card with a time, a location, and 4 words. Do not tell anyone. You don't. You show up. And the moment you walk through that door, everything you thought you knew about how the world works begins to quietly dissolve. Level 1, the blank slate. You don't know what division you've been recruited into. That's by design. You know you passed the background check. You know it took 14 months. You know investigators spoke to people from your childhood you hadn't thought about in years. You know somewhere along the way you were selected for something that doesn't appear on any organizational chart. They call it the Special Activities Center. But the unit you're being funneled into doesn't use that name internally. It doesn't use any name. Your first week is orientation, except nobody calls it that. It's a series of rooms. A series of evaluators. They're not testing your knowledge. They're testing your reactions. How long before you feel silence? Whether your eyes move when certain words are said. How you respond to authority when authority is wrong. You learn quickly. The correct answer is usually not an answer. It's a posture. A stillness. You clear your first psychological screening. Then your second. You're told to report to a building in Northern Virginia with no visible signage. The man who greets you has no nameplate, no title, no handshake. He hands you a badge with a number on it. Not your name. A number. You'll go by this, he says. You nod like it's normal. It isn't. But you're already learning to perform normalcy as a skill. At level 1, you are useful because you are unknown. You have no history inside the system. No enemies. No reputation to protect. You are, to the people above you, a clean instrument. Untested but uncontaminated. You run errands that don't have names. You courier documents in plain folders to parking garages and hotel lobbies. You sit in rooms during briefings and take no notes because note-taking is not permitted. You absorb. You stay quiet. You learn that the most dangerous thing you can do at this level is ask the wrong question at the wrong moment. You make $67,000 a year. You tell your family you work in federal consulting. They don't ask follow-up questions. You've trained them not to slowly, without them noticing. At night, you feel something that isn't pride and isn't fear. It's closer to the feeling of standing at the edge of something enormous in the dark, unable to see the bottom. You decide that feeling is acceptable. Level 2, the education. 18 months in, they move you. Not to a different building. To a different layer. Same building, different access. Your badge now opens doors that didn't exist to you before. Literally. A corridor you walked past every day for a year turns out to have a door in it. You just couldn't see it from your clearance level. That's when you understand. This organization is structured less like a hierarchy and more like a series of concentric circles. The deeper you go, the smaller the group. The higher the stakes. The less paperwork. You're assigned to a team. 5 people. You will not know their real names for another 6 months. You will not know what half of them look like without their operational appearance, the haircuts, the glasses, the posture adjustments, for longer than that. Your first real assignment is surveillance. Not action. Watching. You spend 11 days monitoring the schedule of a mid-level diplomat from a Central Asian nation. You learn his coffee order, his walking pace, the 17-second gap between when he leaves his apartment and when his security detail catches up. You compile a report so detailed it reads like a biography written by someone who hated the subject. You turn it in. You never find out what it was used for. That's the first lesson of level 2. Completion is not the same as understanding. You are a function inside a machine. The machine doesn't explain itself to its parts. Your handler, a woman whose name you know only as Elise, which is certainly not her name, tells you something in your 3rd week that you will think about for years. The best operators, she says, are the ones who stop needing to know why. You're not there yet, but you're working on it. You start studying the people around you. Not to befriend them, to calibrate. You're learning what level 2 looks like from the outside, so you can perform it correctly from the inside. You notice that the best ones have a specific quality. They're completely present in the room and somehow entirely absent at the same time. You practice that. You get decent at it faster than you expected. That bothers you briefly. Then it doesn't. Level 3, First Blood. The call comes at 2:13 a.m. You're told to be at a specific intersection in Rosslyn in 40 minutes. You are. A car picks you up. Nobody speaks. You drive for an hour, which is long enough to leave the state, and you stop at a facility that looks like an unremarkable data center. Inside, a man you've never seen is sitting in a chair. He is not restrained. He is not comfortable. Your job tonight is not interrogation. Your job is to be present, to be witnessed being present, to represent the weight of the institution to a person who is deciding how afraid to be. You sit across from him for 2 hours. You say 11 words total. He gives up 4 names, 2 locations, and a banking channel that you will find out 8 months later. Dismantle a procurement network responsible for moving components to 3 hostile state programs. You drive home before sunrise. You shower. You make coffee. You sit at your kitchen table and examine how you feel. You feel functional. That's the moment something shifts. Not like a door slamming. More like a door somewhere inside you, quietly clicking shut. You don't report this to anyone. There's no form for it. At level 3, you begin to understand that the organization runs on compartmentalization not just as a security protocol, but as a psychological technology. The less you know about the full picture, the less you can be burdened by it. You are protected, in a specific and calculated way, by your own ignorance. It's almost kind in its way. You're now making $94,000 a year plus operational supplements that appear in an account with a name that isn't yours. You have 2 phones. You have a cover identity with a job, a LinkedIn profile, and a 3-year transaction history. You go on a date. The person across from you asks what you do. You tell them. It's a complete lie delivered perfectly, and you feel nothing. Level 4, the operator. You have a reputation now. You didn't build it. It accrued. Someone somewhere in the machine has been tracking your outputs and mapping them against outcomes. You haven't been told this. You inferred it from the quality of your new assignments. You're running assets now. An asset is a human being you have recruited or inherited who provides intelligence in exchange for money, protection, ideology, or leverage. You currently manage 6. You know them by code names. You know their real names. You know their families, their debts, their fears. You know, in some cases, things about them that no one in their lives knows. This is power. The kind that doesn't need to announce itself. One of your assets is a 43-year-old logistics coordinator at a foreign defense ministry. He started working with the division because he needed $80,000 to cover a debt that would have destroyed his family. He's been providing high-value signals intelligence for 2 years. He thinks he's almost done. He's not. They never are once they're producing. You don't tell him this. Your job is to keep him functional, loyal, and unaware of how deep he's already in. You're good at this. You meet him twice a year in 3rd countries. You remember details about his children by name. You ask about them. He lights up. You feel the leverage increase with every human moment you create. This is called cultivation. You are cultivating a human being like a crop. You don't use that word internally anymore. You used to. You stopped because it was slowing you down. At level 4, you understand the real currency of this world. It isn't money. It isn't violence. It's information and the threat of information. What you know, who you can expose, what you can release or withhold. That is the actual economy. You have people who would be destroyed if you talked. So do they. That mutual assured destruction, replicated across thousands of relationships, is the invisible architecture that holds the whole system up. Level 5, the gray zone. There's an operation that doesn't have a case number. That's the first thing you notice about it. Every operation has a case number. This one has a verbal brief delivered by one person, in one room, with no recording devices present. You're told to keep no documentation. You're told that if questioned, you have no knowledge of this. You're told what the outcome needs to be. The how is yours to determine. This is called a finding. In theory, findings require presidential authorization. In practice, at the level you're now operating, some things exist in a space that the authorization framework wasn't designed to reach. You've learned not to ask about the scaffolding. You focus on the structure. The operation takes 6 weeks and 3 countries. You use 4 assets, 2 of whom don't know the others exist. The outcome is what was requested. You file nothing. You tell no one. You fly home on a commercial flight, middle seat, eating peanuts, and the man next to you is watching a football game on his phone, and you feel, for one strange moment, the full distance between your world and every other world. You're making $180,000 a year now, with supplements that bring the real number considerably higher. You have a house, a car, a life that looks, from the outside, completely unremarkable. You've built a life specifically designed to be invisible. Your relationships are managed. You're not incapable of connection, but you've accepted that the version of yourself other people know is a negotiated, curated version. You're not lying to them. You're protecting them from information, from liability, from the reality that the person they think they know has made decisions in gray rooms in foreign cities that they would not recognize. You've stopped trying to reconcile the two. Level 6, the architect. You don't run operations anymore. You approve them. You sit in rooms with people who have more acronyms behind their names than most citizens know exist, and you argue about risk thresholds and strategic value and acceptable outcomes. You have learned that at this level, language is the most sophisticated weapon. The way a question is framed determines the answer before anyone speaks. You have 14 people beneath you in the division's actual structure. On paper, none of them report to you. The organizational chart is fiction, a document that exists to satisfy oversight bodies that see only what they're supposed to see. The real structure is relational. It's built on history and obligation, and the quiet memory of favors that will never be spoken aloud, but will never be forgotten. You built this web across 7 years. Carefully, with patience. One senator sits on the Intelligence Oversight Committee and believes you are a mid-level analyst at a defense contractor. He has, on 2 occasions, passed information to you through an intermediary he thinks works for a think tank. You have, on those same occasions, shaped the framing of classified briefings he received the following week. He is not corrupt. He simply doesn't know what he's part of. That's the difference between level 6 and everything below it. Below level 6, you are inside other people's structures. At level 6, other people are inside yours, and most of them don't know it. Power at this level is negative space. It's what doesn't need to be said. Level 7, the ghost. Your name no longer appears in any active personnel file. You were officially separated from the agency 4 years ago. There was a ceremony. A small one. People who knew a version of you shook your hand. You accepted a commendation that cannot be displayed, for work that cannot be described, and then you ceased to exist institutionally. You still work. You work more than you ever have. But now you operate through mechanisms that have no names. You are engaged through intermediaries by people who have the authority to engage you, but not the authority to document that they have. You have no badge, no building, no case officer. You are, in the language of the division, a cleared ghost. There are fewer than 30 people in the world with your actual operational history and your current level of access. You know most of them. Not all. There are others operating in the same negative space who you will never meet because the system is specifically designed to prevent it. Parallel architectures. Redundant ghosts. Each one believing they are singular. At level 7, the psychological texture of your life changes in ways that are hard to describe to anyone. You are not lonely, exactly. But you exist in a specific kind of solitude. The people around you know less and less of the real shape of your life. And the gap between what is real and what can be shared becomes so wide that intimacy starts to feel structurally impossible. You've watched 2 colleagues at this level quietly come apart. One is medicated. One disappeared voluntarily, you think. You don't know for certain. You run 6 miles every morning. You cook elaborate meals. You read history. You do these things with the same deliberate intentionality that you apply to operations because you have learned that at this level, the interior life requires active maintenance, or it will close down entirely. Level 8, the silence. You are not given orders anymore. You give clarity. There's a difference. Orders imply a chain. Clarity is what happens when someone with complete institutional memory and unrecorded access looks at a situation and tells the people asking what the actual options are. You have been providing clarity in this capacity for 9 years. You have shaped the outcomes of 6 geopolitical events that appeared, to the public and to most of the government, to be organic. They were not. They were engineered or nudged or quietly prevented from resolving a different way. You sit with this. Not with guilt. You moved past guilt years ago, not by suppressing it, but by examining it closely enough to understand what it actually was, which was mostly the discomfort of being the person who held the consequence, rather than the person who caused it. The causes were older and larger than you. You are not a monster. You are a function. The most refined, the most insulated, the most consequential function in a system that most people don't know exists and that those people's safety, paradoxically, partly depends on. On the days when you're less certain, you don't let the uncertainty linger. You live in a house that no database correctly associates with your identity. You travel on documents that are technically legal and completely fictional. You have money, more than you'll use, less than you once imagined would feel like enough, in structures designed to outlast you. You are 61 years old. You look unremarkable. This is the final achievement. The world you operate in does not have retirement. It has transition. The transition, when it comes, will not be announced. One day the calls will taper and then stop. You will have been used completely and then set down. And the work will continue without you, powered now by someone else who believes, as you once believed. Somewhere in Northern Virginia, an envelope with no return address is being delivered to a mailbox. Inside is a card, a time, a location, 4 words, a 26-year-old with perfect scores, a flawless record, and an inexact sense of what they're about to walk into is holding it under a kitchen light right now. They feel the pull of it. Something important. Something secret. Something that will matter. They're right, in the way that a person standing at the edge of a very deep current is right that the water is real. They'll show up. They'll be good at it. They'll move upward through layers they can't currently see, making compromises they can't currently imagine, until they become something they don't have a name for yet. They think they're beginning a career, but you know better. The door closes behind them and the cycle continues.